Hi, welcome to the Denver Older Adult Helpers channel on YouTube by Maintain Me. And I'm Morgan, I'm the director at Maintain Me.
Hello, I'm Desiree. I'm a transition coordinator with Maintain Me.
Thanks for joining us today, Desiree. We really appreciate being able to turn to you and your expertise. You bring so much to the table at the Maintain Me team. And today we're going to be talking about a sensitive topic that is so important, hospice. So Desiree, what is hospice?
Hospice is a beautiful thing. It is end-of-life care for those folks who are terminally ill at all ages. There's hospice for young kids, there's hospice for older adults. It truly is a beautiful thing. Hospice focuses on the person, not necessarily the disease. It makes the patient's wishes and priorities a priority in the plan of care that is created for them on an individual basis. It can be provided within the comforts of your own home, within an assisted living, long-term care setting, and there's also inpatient hospice available as well.
Wow, that is, I really like the part about it being about the person and the priorities, especially, we're as obligated to die as we are to be born. So now that we've already been born, we are all going to die. And so hospice sounds like this gentle guiding support through your final days. Would you say that's accurate?
That's very accurate. It is. And not just for the individual who is on hospice, but for their loved ones, for their family, for their friends. It is, think of it as a warm, loving hug for all those who are involved with that person who is on hospice. It's there to not only, treat the individual, but also provide spiritual care, counseling, guidance, even after the loved one has passed. There is options to continue that spiritual and counseling as well.
That does sound like a real comfort. Who qualifies for hospice?
So anybody who has been diagnosed with the terminal illness at any age, again, can be unfortunately somebody very, very young to somebody who is 102. As long as you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, giving 6 months or less to live. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to pass away within those 6 months. As you know, Morgan, every disease has its own course. Just as though, we all have our own individual fingerprints, a disease has its own course to run, and everybody experiences it differently. So just because you've been given that 6 months or less diagnosis, that doesn't mean it's actually going to happen within those 6 months. In my experience with hospice, some people have been on hospice for days, hours, weeks, months, and sometimes years.
Oh, wow. And that is important to note, the qualifying piece too, because usually when you qualify for something, it means is paying for it. So who pays for hospice?
So for those folks 65 and older and are eligible for Medicare, Medicare covers hospice. For those individuals who are 65 and younger, it's really up to your insurance plan on whether that particular insurance plan does cover hospice. So when we go for our yearly insurance renewal through our employer, it's always great to look at your co-pays and what's covered, but take a look and see if it covers hospice. A lot of them do.
Good. Okay, that's an important tip to remember. So insurance pays for it. And so this is kind of a two-part question today. I think you've done a lovely job of highlighting what hospice is. Maybe what is hospice not?
So Hospice is not scary. I want to put that out there. I mean, there's such this, dark cloud around the word hospice. We think of death and dying and gloom and sadness, but it's not scary. It's not scary. It's not something to be afraid of. It can be, very beautiful, just like birth, like you mentioned. We all are born and we all have, an end date. We all do pass away eventually. But just as being born and that being so special and intimate, and anybody who, has a privilege to be in that room when somebody's born, same with passing. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be a part of somebody's journey ending. So it's beautiful. It's not scary. It's not.
Oh, it just gave me the chills. Yeah. What else? I mean, as far as, so let's talk about maybe an example. So say you have been given, that 6 months to live, or you're just, you're older, you're losing weight, you have a lot of pain, and somebody says, well, maybe we should look at hospice. And so I have my family in the room and we're all trying to figure out what's next. And okay, great, we qualify. What does that mean? Now what?
So, I'll give an example. Say you're in the hospital and you run all these tests, something's been going on for months, and find out you have a terminal diagnosis and there's really nothing left to do in way of treatment, preventative care, things of that nature. And the doctor says, plan out the rest of your days, make it the best. Hospice is needed. So there is family choice. There's patient choice when it comes to hospice. There are several different hospice companies in the Denver, metro area, and you have a choice of who you go with. And choice is great, no matter what situation you're in. And take your time with your family and, look into these hospice companies, meet with them, and they will meet with you. They will meet with you and they will talk to you about their philosophy and how they, would handle your care in any situation or event, and where they can provide care for you as well. And I always say, interview them, get to know them, because again, this is a part of your life that, is privileged to be a part of. And you want somebody you trust, somebody you have a connection with, not just, you as the patient, but the family as well, because they're going to be there for them during and after your passing. So take your time and make sure, that hospice company is the right fit for you. And I know I say take your time when you've been diagnosed with 6 months or less, terminal diagnosis, but really, it's something very important, and you don't take that decision lightly, and who's going to take care of you at the end of life.
That's great advice. So kind of a piggyback off of what is hospice. The next part, can you have hospice in assisted living? Because a lot of our audience is older adults. They are maybe living in assisted living or have a loved one in assisted living. So can you get hospice in assisted living?
In the state of Colorado, yes, you can. Yes, you can. In the state of Colorado, you can. If you are currently living in assisted living and you are approaching, this pivotal point in your life and hospice is needed, reach out to your director of nursing and or your executive director who, is overseeing your assisted living, and let them know the circumstances and let them know this is, the way you're going. And they may have already hospice companies that are coming in providing hospice care for the other residents, and may have some insight on what's going on with those companies, and you can take it from there. But yes, they do allow hospice within assisted livings.
Is there ever a time where assisted living with hospice isn't enough care?
Yes.
Maybe that isn't a good idea.
So depending on, that individual's journey, with their terminal diagnosis, they might need more acute care than what an assisted living can handle, on the days that hospice isn't there. They might need 24-hour nursing because their pain is out of control and they're on a narcotic, and they need a nurse to administrate or to, give them their medication. So that's where long-term care setting comes into play. So within a skilled nursing facility where they have nurses 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's one example. The other example is if, they're at home, that was their choice to be at home with hospice and or an assisted living, but they're actively passing away and the family doesn't feel as though they can give the care that is needed during that time of passing. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That is okay. There are inpatient hospice facilities that can take your loved one in during their time of passing and provide that care so that you step out of that caregiver role and you just become family and you're there with them for that time of their passing. So that's another scenario as well.
Wow, those are such good information to have. I think being this is kind of like you said, a dark cloud around the conversation, I don't think people have a lot of access to this information unless they've experienced it. And that doesn't give you very much time to plan or think about what you want for your own life.
No, it doesn't.
Thank you so much. So if you're just joining us, we are answering the question, what is hospice? And Desiree did an excellent job with that. If you need referrals or resources, of course, drop us a comment or you can reach out to Maintain Me and we can refer you to hospice companies that we know here in Denver Metro. And then the second part of this, if you're just joining us, is can you have hospice and assisted living? And Desiree did a nice job of summarizing. Yes, you can, but it's not a good idea across the board, depending upon where you're at in your death and dying cycle, and or if your family members can handle the care that's needed, or if the assisted living can. Pain is a biggie. So, we don't want to suffer, and managing pain is one of the important keys that your hospice team provides. Desiree, is there anything else that you want to, as we're kind of wrapping up, anything we haven't covered that you feel is really important besides hospice isn't scary? That was a really big takeaway from this. So thank you. What else do you have to add?
Reach out. It's not something you're going to be educated on until you need it. And it's not something we think about every day. It's not something we prepare for, so reach out with questions, but know that it's a benefit that you need to take advantage of, because there's so many resources through these hospice companies that can help you during the most trying part of your time of life. And not only you going through hospice, but your family and your loved ones. Like I said, it's such a great benefit, and it can be such a beautiful thing as well. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen how beautiful hospice can be for everybody involved.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for covering such a sensitive but amazing topic with us today. And if there is anything that you in the audience want to add or share your story that we can also share to help others, we'd be happy to do that. We're here for you. Ask Maintain Me what questions you might have, and keep following us for other topics coming up in the future. And if there's something you want us to cover, leave it in the chat. We will do just that. And we'll give you a shout out for your personal question. Thanks again for joining us today, Desiree, and we will sign off.
Bye, guys.